Hello, I'm the Deaf Geek. This podcast is about the Wheel of Time. Season 3, Episode 7, Goldeneyes. This episode focused entirely on two rivers. Manetheren is tasked with defending his hometown, Two Rivers, from the Trollocs. Aiding Perrin in this task are Fail, Loial, the Isle sisters Tuatha'an and Maiden, and Alana and her warder Maxim. They are working with the citizens of Two Rivers on how to defend the village. Meanwhile, what will the nearby Whitecloaks do? Will they help? Or will they allow Two Rivers to be destroyed by the Trollocs? Watch and find out.
Aaron! Perrin!
In the previous episodes, various people were checking up on the Trollocs. They've been constantly attacking Two Rivers. They were tracked to the waygates. So they've been using the ways to reach Two Rivers. The most recent investigation found a large army had arrived. It's time to build up the village's defense. Is Perrin and his crew are training the Two Rivers folk? They hear a warning bell. They rush, expecting an attack. Fortunately, it's only the Tinkers, the Tuatha'an. This is the same group that Perrin ran into during the first season. When Perrin welcomed them into the village, he recognized them. Some members were gone or killed, while others were still alive. Either way, Perrin and the Two Rivers welcomed them into their protection. Remember that the Tinkers are a splinter group of the original Loial. The original Loial entered the waste to protect the tree sapling and Sakernan. However, some of them decided to return home instead. Those that returned became the Tinkers. They still follow the way of the leaf. They are pacifists and refuse to engage in any violence. That is their belief, no violence.
If this could be our last night together, I think I'll finally relent and play Maiden's Kiss, if you still wish me to.
We knew you'd come around.
Throughout this entire season, the Loial sisters, Tuatha'an and Maiden, have unsuccessfully tried to get various people to play a game called Maiden's Kiss. That's a game unique to the Loial. They've been constantly denied. Matt in the first episode was the only person willing to play. But now that it might be their last night together, Loial is willing to play. However, it turns out to be a trick. Loial was trying to trick the Loial sisters into giving up their TOH debt towards Loial. Loial wanted to free them so they could battle, but they saw through Loial's trick. Although Chiad's tow was paid off, Maiden built tow towards Loial, so Loial failed to separate himself from the Loial sisters. Foreshadowing?
We walk the footsteps of our fathers, trail blessed by our mothers. They bought the land with their blood long ago. Long ago. Oh, sing on Manetheren. Oh, weep for the
previous episode, we saw a viral song, The Hills of Tanchico, being introduced. For this episode, we get it sorta opposite. It's a proud, patriotic song. It's called Cry for Manetheren. I just showed a brief clip of the song. The characters know there's a major battle coming, so they're trying to inspire each other. They're getting ready to fight to defend their country, their home. So I wanted to showcase it as a counterpart to the Hills of Tanchico. So we have two towns, each with their own style, beat, lyrics, and perspectives. Hope you enjoyed them.
You came. It was the right thing to do.
How'd you get here?
The mountain pass.
Past the Trollocs.
What Trollocs? It was abandoned.
They took it less than an hour ago. There's no way it would be abandoned.
Baron Fane. He's with you? Fane's a Darkfriend! Close the gates! Hold these gates!
Before the battle, Perrin did attempt to negotiate with the Whitecloaks. He warned them that a massive Trolloc army was on the way. He asked them for assistance, and the Whitecloaks shrugged their shoulders. They refused because they all believe Perrin is a Darkfriend. Despite Perrin's denials, they reminded him that he did kill Dane's father. Perrin pointed out that they wrongfully killed Natty Corthan. The meeting ended in an impasse. Later on, as the battle was raging on, the townsfolk had to retreat from the Trollocs' attacks. They were preparing for their last stand in the town square. Just when all seemed lost, the Whitecloaks arrived. They changed their minds. Excitement abounds, until Perrin spots Padan Fane, a Darkfriend. He's a hardcore Darkfriend, and was among the clueless Whitecloaks. So the Darkfriends have infiltrated the Whitecloaks. Sheesh. So anyway, Padan has his dark white cloaks. In the Black Cloaks, I guess. And we start attacking the Whitecloaks, making the situation even more chaotic.
Step aside, children. It's you.
Oh, Mother!
As the battle continued, it became even more frenzied and chaotic. Different things were happening all at once. Battles don't occur chronologically. It can be hard to keep track of the various incidents happening. I wanted to discuss a few of them that I felt were essential to focus on. The first event I want to talk about concerns the Corthon sisters. Their mother was murdered by Valda last episode. Valda was the leader of a faction of the Whitecloaks called the Questioners. The Questioners seek out Aes Sedai and other women who can channel to kill them. They accused Natty of being a witch and burned her at the stake. So during the battle, when Valda stumbled upon the Corthon sisters, and when they realized who he was, they immediately took their revenge. They burnt him to a crisp. How karmic, considering what he did to their mother. I wanted to discuss this part because of the sweet karma served. It also was a major departure from the novels, which I'll discuss later. The second significant event involves the Tinkers, who were welcomed into Two Rivers. They were asked to take children and evacuate if everything seems lost. The Tinkers agreed to save the children of Two Rivers if needed. Unsurprisingly, the order was given for the Tinkers to evacuate. The Tinkers escaped via a secret path to avoid the Trollocs. This includes Aram, who was carrying a baby. Unfortunately, a Trolloc overwhelms him. This scene paralleled what we saw in the Ruidian episode. Specifically, Rand's vision of Luin, his ancestor. In that vision, Luin used violence to defend himself and others. Here, Aram used a knife to kill a Trolloc. That's still violence, even if it was a Trolloc. At that moment, Aram knew he was no longer a Tinker, as he saw his mom's eyes. I thought this moment was significant, and the parallelism highlighted it. That is how the Isle splintered from the original version into the modern-day version. The original Aiel eventually faded away, and we have Aram separating from the Tinkers. He no longer follows the way of the leaf. This despite the fact that Aram felt he had to defend himself and the baby. This was quite a powerful moment and a good use. A good example of building upon previous events. That's why I showed it. While the Two Rivers townsfolk were off fighting their tumultuous battle, let's check in on Loial. Remember, he tried to release the Ael sisters' toe but failed. This is because Loial knew his trek to close the waygates was a suicide mission. The Trollocs were using the waygates, so it had to be permanently closed. He had to do so in order to protect the Two Rivers townsfolk. Loial tried to simply break the waygates themselves, but couldn't. So he had to reluctantly do the unthinkable and destroy the entire platform with himself locked inside. He smashed the rock bridge, knowing he'd die when it collapsed. Sure enough, when the platform collapsed, Loial went down with it. Loial had sacrificed himself, for good. The Loial sisters were both outside the waygates when it exploded. Their toll has been paid.
Violence never ends until someone says enough.
A man of honor.
The battle is over. The Two Rivers townsfolk are victorious. The Trollocs started fleeing when they saw their only exit destroyed. Those who remained were killed off or ordered to leave. Unfortunately, Padan Fain survived the battle and is still out there with the Trollocs. Perrin left him alive as he could command the Trollocs to leave. Now it's time for Perrin to keep his promise to the Whitecloaks. If the Whitecloaks helped them win, Perrin would then give himself up to them. He would accept his punishment for killing their leader. So when the Whitecloaks came, Perrin willingly surrendered. He accepted his consequences and would not fight back. He did so to protect his people. In response, the townsfolk started chanting, "Lord Perrin Goldeneyes." They also brought out a new wolf banner representing Perrin. The wolf symbol was chosen because of Perrin's golden eyes. Now we'll find out what comes after this. Here are my thoughts regarding the 7th episode of Wheel of Time Season 3. Boy, do I have a lot of thoughts about this episode. And first, let's talk about the episode itself. Honestly, I felt a bit ambivalent about this. I'm not sure the Two Rivers cast and storyline were strong enough to carry an entire episode. There were a few times I wanted to check in on other characters. So an entire episode focused on Two Rivers? This episode reminded me a bit of the Game of Thrones episode, where there was an entire episode of Jon Snow's group defending Castle Black. They spent an entire episode on that as well. Well, there were many other storylines I wanted to see instead, so those two episodes were similar in that regards. Now, I wanted to talk about the two major deaths of this episode. I wanted to talk about the deaths of Valda and Loial. The reason why I want to discuss them is because, in the books, sorry, I'm going to toss a bit of book spoilers here. Both characters play fairly significant roles in the post-battle storylines. Both of these storylines take up a decent chunk of the novel's screen time. But with both of them dead, does that mean those storylines are cut? It makes me wonder. How interesting. Now let's focus on Loial's death itself. Now that it's happened, I can retroactively see the foreshadowing. They flew under my radar the first time. So good job. The show fooled me on that. The third thing I want to discuss is how the show will adapt upcoming book storylines. Okay, let's briefly summarize how the book series is set up. It's a 14-novel series. Right now, we're mainly focused on the story on the 4th book out of 14. The show is in its 3rd season. There's a lot of books left to go through. This is a small summarization of book readers' opinions. It's not 100% agreed upon, but it's the general sentiment. It's commonly agreed that the first 3 novels are stereotypical fantasy clichés. They're similar to each other in story structure. The series explodes in scope during the 4th novel. Novels Nashra 4, 5, and 6 are the absolute pinnacle of the Wheel of Time. They're outstanding novels and among the peak of fantasy novels. However, during novels 7 to 10, the pacing slows down dramatically. The story becomes bloated. This is called the slog. But when we get to novel number 11, the pacing speeds as the story is wrapped up. The final 3 novels ends the story. So books number 7 to 10 are called the slog. I've often wondered how the TV show would deal with the slog. The answer seems to be to cut out as much as possible. Either skip them or greatly condense them. This episode implies 2 of those stories will be removed. I'm anticipating a more streamlined story, and more focused towards reaching the ending. We'll see how they pull it off. Just like the previous episode, I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10. It was generally enjoyable, and I enjoyed seeing the battle. I'd been looking forward to seeing this on the TV screen. I'm just not sure it warranted an entire episode. I wanted to know what was happening elsewhere. Hence my 7.5 out of 10. This is the Deaf Geek, and thanks for watching.